beginning. I'm going to post it in the chat, or sorry, in the group later on, so you can comment on it and you won't miss anything. I'm just getting into the questions now. And feel free to add anything in the chat feature here if you'd like. Pull up the chat like on the right hand side if you'd like. Okay, so getting into some questions. So Kristen's here. Kristen, I have some of your questions. So I'll just read them out and answer them and also ask for some feedback, whether that's people chiming in via video or via the chat. So Kristen asked, I'm wondering, what is your strategy for alcohol during your fat loss phase? I know it can solve fat loss, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to commit to giving up one drink a week. So I personally think that one drink a week is absolutely fine in a fat loss phase, and like 1 to 2 drinks a week, I think will, as long as you're kind of working them into your overall calories, if you're on point with that, and maybe you're substituting out some fats and carbs in place of having, an alcoholic drink or two, I think you'll be totally fine. And I don't think that you have to get so kind of nitpicky in the sense of like, you can like telling yourself you can't have 1 drink or 2 drinks, especially if it's just, once a week. I'm all for that. And I do that too. But for me, it all comes down to kind of the trade-offs, right? So for me, it's like, if my calories are pretty low, especially like right now with my goals and my periodization that I went through the other week, I would much rather use 150 calories, towards food versus drinking them and alcohol. But that's my preference, right? So if you would rather spend quote unquote 150 calories to 200 calories, whatever, on a drink, and you can still work that into your overall calorie goal, then go for it. That is totally fine. And I don't think it'll have very, very, very slight effects on the overall fat loss, over the course of your fat loss phase. Where we start to get into issues is if we're doing that like every single day, right? Or if it's multiple drinks every single day, or if it's multiple drinks on the weekend, where it's then causing you to have less ability to actually stick within your overall calorie goal because maybe you're a little bit under the influence. We all know, have a few drinks, get a little hungry, and the plan goes out the window. So those are the things that I really would encourage you to think through before, making that trade-off. But I don't think that in general, 1 drink a weekend or 2 drinks a weekend is going to have any, really negative effect on your results, as long as everything else is in check. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah, no, it does. I feel like I might fall into that category of like, yeah, I have like 0 tolerance. So if I have a drink, it's like, sometimes I go into that, oh, well, I'm kind of hungry, so I'll just like keep snacking. Mm-hmm. And like my calories are already like kind of low anyway, so, except for like if I'm trying to do like my higher calorie day, and like sometimes that's my day where I might have a drink. But yeah, I just wanted to like get your feedback on that. I feel like I'm still like in a fat loss phase, but I can't tell if like I'm slowing down or, it's only been like, I just don't know, because I'm trying to like not look at the scale. Like you always say, like, don't look at it like every day. If it goes up, like whatever. Mm-hmm. Like over the course of the last couple of weeks, like it's been trending down, which is good. But, yeah, like I feel like now, because I'm like 8 or 9 weeks in, I feel like I have some momentum, and I don't want to mess it up, but I also don't want to like, it's not like I'm training for like a competition, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm not ready to just give up like that little bit of like socializing that I do on the weekends,
Yeah, no, and I don't think that you should, because I think that in itself is going to be something that will eventually catch up to you and not, and make the adherence to the overall deficit a lot harder. Especially if you're 8 weeks in and you're looking to go maybe 12, 14, 16 weeks, whatever it may be. You need to make sure that you can have a little bit of flexibility, right? Because we do need to dial things in, but part of being able to achieve your goals, but then also being able to, maintain that long term. And also, it doesn't have to be like a fat loss phase is the hardest thing in the world. And like, you can't ever do anything. Like it shouldn't, like in terms of anything like being social and things like that shouldn't be the case, because that is going to make it so much harder from a mental standpoint. And so if you can work in a drink or two, if you can work in a night out to dinner and still be on track with what you're doing, or a night or two, or however many works for you, like that is what we want. We want some flexibility to be able to still enjoy life. Right. So yeah, I mean, again, and this is something that I didn't mention before when I was talking about, but obviously alcohol is, you've probably heard people refer to it as kind of like empty calories, because it is its own macronutrient and it has no nutritional value, right? There's no nutritional value to alcohol. So it's really just thinking about, okay, if I'm consuming something that has no nutritional value, how is this benefiting me in, within what I'm trying to do right now? And so it's like, yes, the benefit is like the fun, right? You have fun, you get a little, little tipsy, you enjoy yourself, you enjoy life, whatever. And that's fine, right? But you have to realize that there has to be a little bit of balance there when it comes to going to the extremes. And that's with anything, right? So just keeping that in mind and, being smart about it and realizing like, okay, and even testing it out, right? For example, maybe you have a drink this weekend and you're like, okay, that was worth it. Like I had one drink, just like me, I'm pretty much a lightweight too. So I can have one drink and I'll be a little tipsy, whatever. But if I do that and then I'm like, oh man, I just want to eat everything in sight, or like I, get a little lax on what I'm doing, and then I kind of reevaluate the next day, and I also kind of reevaluate how I feel the next day. That's another thing to think about. If you're having more than one drink, or if you're getting, pretty drunk, you're probably not going to feel the best the next day. And that's probably going to affect what you're doing the next day. Like, are you going to end up sitting on the couch all day? So you're not going to get your steps in. You're not going to get your exercise in. You're going to maybe that day kind of expands into the next day where you're like, all right, I'm hungover, so I'm just going to eat whatever I want and I'll kind of start over the next day. Right. So if that cycle starts to happen, that's where you get into trouble. But, if it's a one-time thing, or if it's an event that you're going to, then you have to realize that, just getting back on track, that's what you have to do. And then you just learn from it, right? You're like, all right, I did that. And, I didn't really like how I felt, or I didn't really like what I was doing while I was in that state of mind. So I need to reevaluate and think about what my goals are right now, what my timeline is, and what I need to do in order to be able to achieve my goal within that time frame. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Okay, so your next question, Kristen, I have it here. You said, I'm thinking about increasing protein a little bit. Sorry, a little background noise. I'm thinking about increasing protein a little since the last few weeks I've eaten more of it anyway. If I adjust my macros accordingly, is it better to swap for carbs or fat? Honestly, I wouldn't think too far into it. I would either just do a combination of the carbs and fats. If your fats are already really low, then probably pull from carbs, but I would just do both. Like if you're at like a certain point, I would just try taking a little bit from both and then seeing how that is. That would be probably my recommendation. Because there's no like absolutes with that.
Okay.
You were gonna say something? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just that's helpful. So like if my fat's already, I can't think of what the calculation is, but if it's like 0.3 or point whatever it is, I don't want to go like below that. And I'm not there yet, but I feel like I'm getting close. So yeah.
Yeah, I typically wouldn't go like below, like usually, and then I've said this before, and this is in the nutrition manual, that around 0.3 grams per pound of body weight is like kind of the bottom floor for fat intake that I would recommend. However, if you are getting to the tail end of your diet, right? If it's like, okay, I have 2 to 3 weeks left in a diet and my calories are now getting pretty low because, as you go through your fat loss phase, you may have to make adjustments to your calorie intake as you lose weight, as things start to maybe slow down a little bit. It might mean that, okay, my body's adapting to this intake. I've lost a little bit of weight, so I'm a smaller human being. So maybe I need to adjust my calories down a little bit. So again, as you get to the tail end, it might mean that maybe you're dipping a little bit below that 0.3 grams per pound of body weight for a short period of time, but I wouldn't stay there for a long period of time, if that makes sense. So like, it's okay to go a little bit lower, especially if you're a leaner person, your calories are already pretty low. It's okay to go a little bit below that 0.3 grams per pound of body weight with fat, but you just don't want to stay there for like months on end, really. That's the biggest thing. So yeah, I would just pull a little bit from carbs and fats, and then just kind of check out that calculation and make sure you're above that threshold for the fat intake. Awesome. Okay, so I know Leah's listening in. She had a few questions as well, so I'm going to ask those here. So Leah asked a quick question about the training for lower 1B series. Are we doing the 3 exercises in the triple quad death video, and then doing the front elevated split squat followed by the cyclo split squat? So a total of 5 movements, or is it just a total of 3 movements? So Leah, it's just a total of the 3 movements. So it's the main squat pattern. So whether you chose a front squat, back squat, whatever type of squat you chose, then it's the split squat, and then it's the cyclid squat. So you do those 3. That's your triset, right? And then you do those however many it's listed out. So yes, 3 movements, not 5. And then her second question, what are your thoughts on supplementing with amino acids when we cannot meet our protein target? For example, maybe we have 2 larger protein meals, but have a smaller snack with protein that doesn't meet our target. What would you recommend, or would you recommend adding an amino acid powder to that? So I think amino acid powders, first of all, I would recommend, if you're going to use an amino acid powder, that it is an essential amino acid powder. So EAAs, not just BCAAs. You can use BCAAs. BCAAs are the branched chain amino acids. Those are the ones that you probably heard of, like the muscle building amino acids. They're leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Those are the 3 amino acids that are most important for triggering muscle protein synthesis. However, we want all of the amino acids in order to do that as efficiently as possible, and as abundantly as possible, so to speak. So it's better to have more amino acids, more of the different types, than just those 3 in general. So if you're going to supplement with a powder, I would choose the EAAs over the BCAAs. However, that is probably going to be like my last option. If you're someone who, doesn't really enjoy eating a lot of protein, if you're someone who doesn't necessarily like to consume like whey protein powder or other protein powders, then EAAs can be a good option. However, if I were to rank like protein sources in order of where I would start and end, it would be whole food protein meat sources. So your fish, beef, eggs, chicken, anything that came from an animal, right? But it's more so in its whole food form. And then underneath that would be more so like your Greek yogurts and your cottage cheeses, right? So those would be kind of like, they're still whole foods, but they're a little bit more processed. And then underneath that, if we're just talking protein here, underneath that, then I would kind of put the protein powders, especially the whey protein powders, the ones that are complete protein sources. I put those under that. And then underneath that would be like the EAAs. So I would much rather you shoot for, if you can, to one of the top 2 categories, the animals or the cottage cheese or Greek yogurt. And then underneath that, the whey protein powder or a protein powder, because I kind of look at protein powder as more so it's a supplement, but it's more like a food supplement than it is a supplement, if that makes any sense. Especially if you have a whey protein powder that is complete whey protein powder, especially if you have protein powder that is complete. So a whey protein powder, a casein protein powder, whey concentrate or isolate, those are both complete. So that's what I'd probably recommend. And then, if the EAAs, if those are convenient for you, I know a few people are are taking some of the first form EAAs, which is, they actually have a little bit of caffeine in it. And sometimes I use that as like a little bit of a pre-workout boost if I don't feel like taking a pre-workout, or if I don't want to take a pre-workout. I don't take pre-workout all the time, but if I just want like a tiny bit of a caffeine boost, and also, maybe I'm a little bit low on protein going into the workout, I'll have like a scoop of the EAAs from First Form. The mixed berry is my favorite flavor, and they actually taste really good. And it gives me a little bit of caffeine. And it also gives me kind of a hit of amino acids going into the workout. Especially if you're in a fasted state, that's probably where I would utilize those most. But yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit. And if you're interested in the EAAs that I just mentioned, they're in your product suite in the FlexFam app, in that product tab. So hopefully that helps. If you have any follow-up questions, Leah or anybody else, let me know in the chat, and I can address that. Trying to utilize the chat a little bit more to see if this helps with being able to kind of chat, but also like with people who are off camera and all that. So, all right, one more question. If anybody has any questions that come up, please either raise your hand or put them in the chat so I can address them. But I do have one more from Tara, and this is actually, I'm going to present this to the group if anybody wants to chime in here. So Tara said, would love to hear if anyone else has to travel for work, and if so, how do you manage staying on track with hitting your macros? I traveled all last week and it was so difficult. Hey, Tara.
Hi, I'll come on camera as I sit in the car.
No worries.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of add to that. I traveled for work like Monday through Thursday, and then I was home for like 12 hours, and then I like went on a vacation, basically a long weekend. And while it was planned, but it's just, yeah, like when you're traveling, especially by airplane, it's very difficult to be able to like bring your own food because when I go somewhere, like we travel for my son's hockey stuff, I could bring a cooler, and I started packing my own food and pre-making meals and stuff like that. But like when I travel for work, that's not as much of an option. So yeah, it was super hard. So I was just wondering if anybody else has that situation, or if so, what do you do?
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything that they like, their go-to kind of travel tips or hacks or anything? Or even if it's like you're away like from home for a while and you're kind of packing things, or you have things in your purse, is there anybody have any tips or anything? I mean, I know I have a bunch, but I want to see if anybody else wants to chime in first.
Yeah. I can
Kristen.
go. So yeah, like, so 3 days a week I come up to our apartment, so like I can, go to Boston and get on the train and everything. And like, so there's a kitchen here, but I don't know, I'm just more comfortable. Like, I make everything at my house and then I bring it here, which I know that might not work if you're like traveling on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the stuff that I make is pretty portable. Like, I make like those egg muffins, and those are really good cold, because if I want to get to work, sometimes I just want to like eat it. And those travel like really well. So like that's one thing, I guess. Like, if you could try to like make a couple things that like will hold you over, that will transport well. But like I make like breakfast, lunch, and dinner to bring here, just because like I don't want to worry about it because I get stressed out. But one thing that I did the last time I traveled was I made the PSMF bread, and then I got like some chicken salad, or maybe it was like, might have been that recipe, Rachel, from the Keto for Women program. It's like a really good chicken salad. Like, it's like the Wild Planet chicken, cream cheese, and like Frank's. Like, it's super easy, but I made it into a sandwich, and I realized that like if you bring a sandwich on the plane, that's okay. But like I tried bringing it as the chicken salad once, and they were like, oh no. Yeah, they were like, no, this is a liquid, you can't take it with you. And I was like devastated. So after that, I decided, well, whatever, I'm gonna make a sandwich out of it. So that's like another thing. I mean, maybe at least like you could get like maybe like 1 or 2 snacks or like meals. but yeah, no, it's tough. Like, especially at the airport, there's like not that much to
Yeah.
eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what, and I think so I have 2 3 more trips like the next 4 weeks. It's insane. So trying to figure out like what are the best ways. I was thinking I could potentially like it, I need to check out to see if I have a fridge and go to the grocery store and just like get
Mhm.
some things that, or maybe like put protein powder. I guess, can you fly with protein powder? I don't
Yes,
know.
Yeah. They
absolutely.
might
Yeah.
check it.
Okay.
They might like
Okay.
swab it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, those are, I have so first of all, Kristen, you mentioned the chicken salad. So that recipe is actually in the Hunger Hacks ebook. So I just made a note.
Oh, I
I
have
think
that.
I did post that in the group, but what I'll do is I'll post it again or I'll put it at the top so everybody can see it. There's a bunch of really good recipes in that. And then I do have like some travel hacks and tips like in a document that I've written in the past. So I will also post that so you can kind of get some more ideas. But it's really about, in my eyes, and anybody else can chime in here, but getting, as creative as possible, kind of thinking through like staples to have. And also with flying and stuff, like they might like I've flown with so many different types of powders and they've always gotten through. It's just they might like stop you and check and like do like Kristen said, the swab. But I've never had anything taken away from me. And I do fly with a lot of like powders and stuff that people are like, what the heck is that? So they might give you a little weird face, but it doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah.
But like jerky, like all those things, all the like the things to kind of have on hand. But I found that the first thing that I do, like whenever I get somewhere, if I'm traveling and I'm there for like a week, always making sure there's some type of refrigerator. And even if you go to a hotel and they don't have a refrigerator, like most hotels have refrigerators, but sometimes you can ask them for a mini fridge. Like if there's not one in the hotel room, I know most Marriott's, if you like call and just ask like, hey, can you bring a mini fridge to my room? They'll have those like on hand. It's a thing, which I didn't realize.
Okay. I'm staying at one in a few weeks as a Marriott,
there you go.
so I'll remember that.
Yeah, and then just stocking up on, I would say, little Greek yogurt cups, like those are perfect. And having like if you bring some protein powder, you can make like an easy Greek yogurt protein powder. Some berries, like just easy things that you can keep in the fridge that'll last the whole week. I know I'll do like deli meat. I'll get a bunch of deli meat because I'm just thinking protein, right? Like protein is usually the hardest thing to come by when you're traveling.
Yeah.
So I just always think like, okay, where can I get the most protein from and like have that on hand? So if I'm hungry or snacky, I'll have protein. And then sometimes I'll also do just like little veggies, like I'll have in the fridge. Cause sometimes, when you're traveling, you're out of your routine. You have like, at least for me, sometimes I get like snacky and I just want to snack on things. So I'll always have like cherry tomatoes, snap peas, some like celery, if you're into that. It's not the most appetizing thing without anything on it, but you can get creative with celery. You can add like those Laughing Cow cheeses. They're not the highest quality thing, but they do have a little bit of protein in there. So any of those kind of like non-starchy veggies that are things that are very, very low calorie, but you can just munch on them. So yeah, I will add those kind of travel tips hacks document in the FlexFam app as well. So I just made a note of that. Does anybody else have, Amy said the cottage cheese? They have small size too. Yep. Cottage cheese. That's a great option. Cottage cheese and Greek yogurt. Kristen said they always check my keto bricks. Yeah. The keto bricks are like, I don't really eat many of those right now just because I don't know, I'd rather eat other stuff, but yeah, those are a weird thing to travel with. People are like, what the heck is this? But yeah, anybody else have any other go-to travel tips or hacks or anything like that? I think we kind of talked through a lot.
No, those are good options. I will try them out next week. So
Awesome.
when
And
I am
Tara,
off again, yeah.
Do you want to kind of share also maybe a little bit about like what you were like, because you were in a fat loss phase and then you kind of talked about taking a little bit of a break because you do have all this travel coming up and you were struggling a little bit with like what is my why right now? Like, why am I doing this? Because when we're in a fat loss phase, like we need to realize that there has to be a little bit of a sense of urgency, right? And when I say that, it means like I've always seen the best results with all of my clients when we have sort of an end goal, and whether that's like going through one phase of fat loss and then taking a break at maintenance for a little while and then maybe going through another one. So Tara, do you want to just share a little bit about your periodization that you set up for yourself through I think the fall, just to so people can get a little bit idea of that?
Yeah, so I was in a fat loss phase, and like I said, was just kind of, I mean, making a little progress, but not a whole lot, just kind of bumbling along, I guess. And then, I just basically like here within the like 5 weeks, I have to travel like 4 different times. And it was just last week was the first week of it. And I was like, this is not going to work out. So I figured, I was like, well, maybe what I'll do is just kind of eat at maintenance for the next 4 weeks or so. And then go back into the fat loss phase. And I just kind of went through like the calendar and like counted the weeks out. And so my birthday is in the middle of September. And I'm turning 40. And I was like, well, that feels like a good like reason. I was like, that it's a good end date. It's a goal to like work towards. I don't know what I'm doing yet for that day or anything like that, or just I don't have anything specific planned yet, but it seemed, and it kind of worked out for it. So I'm going to go back into the fat loss phase kind of like the second week of June. I do have one vacation in July, but I was like, okay, I can just make that a break, like a kind of a diet break, and then just really kind of continue on, but having that end goal there of my birthday. And then, like I said, just kind of focusing on the why, which is, I gained back some weight that I had, and then I don't feel that comfortable right now, or as comfortable as I did. So that's really the reason why, I want to feel better overall. So yeah, awesome. So that's kind of what I planned out.
Yeah, I think that that plan makes sense. And I think that it does take some kind of courage to be like, all right, I've been in this fat loss phase, but it hasn't really been working out how I've anticipated it would. I don't really have like an end goal. And so I need to just kind of reassess what's going on and, evaluate like, hey, this plan isn't working right now. So let's kind of switch gears and let's figure out let's again, like you said, think about the long term, like think about where you want to be in September when you're 40, right? That needs to be in the back of your mind all the time. And it's easier said than done, right? But you do have that. You have that like one thing that's like, okay, this is that goal I'm working towards. And that in itself should be a little bit more of that motivation factor, right? To keep you on track once you go back into it. Because, I always talk about not relying on motivation, but there is, something to having that thing, the light at the end of the tunnel. Right. So yeah, I'm excited for you. Kristen said, woohoo, join the club, #40 and fabulous. Love it.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Anybody else want to share any updates on anything, any progress? I know that I've seen some ridiculously amazing transformations just in the past few months from some of you ladies. So if anybody wants to share kind of where they're at, if they want to get any feedback on, where they're looking to go based off where they're at now, feel free. Lawrence, hey.
Oh, hey. So I just wanted to kind of share, I shared with Rachel in my check-in, but I was just, I wanted to share this. I'm trying to get back into my childhood. And so I never was really a good roller skater as a kid. And so I recently took up roller skating as part of my movement. instead of just walking and hiking. And I took lessons, and I was doing really well until I fell and hurt my arm. And here's like a little bit of the
Oh
bruise,
no.
the bruising kind of.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
I couldn't even do this before. Like I couldn't like do this. I couldn't even text. So it's improved. I haven't gone to the doctor, so I think I just strained it. And so I haven't been able to really do the workouts. I tried to do lower body on Saturday. I went to the gym. I picked up a barbell and I was trying to do deadlifts, and it was okay. And then I tried to pick up a dumbbell and my arm was like, no, what are you doing? So I just like went and just like did some conditioning work as much as I could, like with just this and like leaving my arm straight. I don't know. I was just trying to get creative. I didn't know what else to do. I was doing squats without weights. I felt kind of lame because I felt like it wasn't doing anything for me. So I kind of feel like, God, we really need our arms.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of said this to you before, and anybody please chime in, but I think in this situation, the first thing is just really focusing on, like, first of all, like, it's out of your control, right? You had no control over hurting yourself. And this is with any injury that we have or any setback that's out of our control. This is something that I've been working on a lot with anything that happens that's out of my control. It's like, okay, I literally cannot do anything about this. So I'm not going to let it like have any of my energy, right? Like I can't control anything about the situation or whatever parts of that situation I can't control. So there's no sense in me giving my energy to that or my stress to that when I could give my energy into the things that I can control, right? That's the mindset that it takes a long time to get there, but like that's what I work on every single morning during my like little meditation thing. It's like, what can I control? Focus on that. So with you, I think that focusing on, like you said, you've been doing some lower body movements. You've been doing things that you can do. And obviously your arm is getting better. So it's going to take a little bit of time and patience until that gets back to like 100%. But even just utilizing some different machines at the gym that you maybe haven't explored before. That could be an option, like machines that maybe, if you're doing, maybe you incorporate a little bit more hamstring curls or, leg extensions, those types of things where you don't necessarily need to use your arms.
I did do those. I actually kind of found when I was like, when you hold on to the bars, I kind of found that I actually like utilize my arms when I lift, and I couldn't really like put much strength in my right arm when I was holding on. So I was mostly holding on with my left arm. So I found that a bit of a struggle. And I don't know, I just didn't feel as strong. It was a little discouraging, but I was trying not to let it bother me.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be just like any injury, right? It's going to take a little bit of time to get back into it. But again, with that, it's like, okay, if I can't lift, like I was before, it's just going to take, it's not like you're never going to be able to get back to lifting. It's just going to take, healing. There's a healing process that you go through, and also realize too that, your body is very, very good at muscle memory. So like, even if you take a few weeks off or you have to take a few weeks off due to something that's going on, you're going to get back into it really, really quickly, even just after a few weeks. So don't worry too much about that. Obviously if you're taking like months off, like if it's months, then that is going to be a little bit harder, but a few weeks is nothing. You'll be right back to where you were within like a week of getting back into normal. But then also, like you said, like focusing on, okay, if I can do some more condition, especially because I know that you're kind of coming to the tail end of your fat loss phase, like, all right, let me double down on my nutrition and maybe some more conditioning that I wasn't doing and kind of fill those time gaps with that. Because that in itself can be something that you maybe like the exercise portion or the lifting portion was taking up a little bit more of the time there. So let's take that time and put it towards other things that are still productive. And then there's other tips and tricks and things like that, if this does last a longer period of time than you thought it was, or you think it's going to last, like if it's an injury that's going to last a few months, there are things like, for example, weight vests that can be useful if you are like, I don't know if your gym has one, or you can,
I actually
buy
have
one.
one.
Oh, you have one. Oh,
I haven't used it yet.
Well, there you go. A weight vest, because that is going to add weight, right? So if you're doing squats and maybe you can hold some dumbbells, but maybe they're not super heavy. So maybe you put that weight vest on, so you're adding more weight, and it's not compromising any of your limbs, right? So like it just adds more weight to that. And then you can do tons of stuff with just that. So I would definitely, yeah, I would utilize that for sure, especially if you already have one. I don't even have a weight vest. I'm jealous. That's awesome.
Totally helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.